TimCast. Tommy Robinson and Piers Morgan have been going at it the last couple of days over on X, and it's been quite glorious to see Piers Morgan calling Tommy Robinson a coward, which we know Tommy's nothing of the sort, especially when confronted by the likes of some radical that hates Tommy Robinson. And that's because you have people like Piers Morgan that lie about Tommy Robinson. So what is that guy that confronted Tommy recently and tried to rush him? What is that guy meant to think, right? That guy thinks Tommy Robinson is an Islamophobe, he's a racist, he's a thug, he's all these things. And as a result, that guy has rushed Tommy and Tommy has had to defend himself. So guaranteed, if that was Piers Morgan, it would have ended very, very differently. I think Piers Morgan would have been on the ground rather than the guy that rushed Tommy Robinson, the radical. But nevertheless, I don't think many people would want to harm Piers Morgan at all because, well, Piers Morgan lives in his ivory tower, and I'm not advocating at all for anyone to hurt anyone. I just think that Piers Morgan is a grifter and no one hates Piers Morgan enough to go after him versus Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is hated by lots of people, but he's also loved by more people, believe you me. So Piers, on one hand, lies through the skin of his teeth about Tommy, causing a lot of hate to stir up and people wanting to go after him. And that's a problem. It really is a problem. Instead of just humanizing and making Tommy Robinson look like he is a good person, which he actually is, by the way, you lie about him because he humiliated you on Good Morning Britain, I think that one time. And you don't like it. You've never liked it. And as a result, you're going, well, come on the show and I'll question you. He's like, oh, you lied about this Syrian boy. You did all this sort of stuff, which is all nonsense. The people know the truth. But Piers Morgan doesn't seem to know the truth, even if it slapped him in the face. But anyway, Tommy Robinson has been doing the rounds at the moment with all different media and seemingly has been egging Piers Morgan on. I think he will go on Piers Morgan's show, even though I think it's a waste of time. But hey, it'll make good content for me. And I know that Tommy Robinson is smart enough to know how to navigate people like Piers Morgan. And I think Piers Morgan is just like antagonizing him and Tommy's antagonizing Piers. But recently, Tommy went on Dan Wootton's show. And by the way, Dan Wootton yesterday went after Andrew Gold, which was a very interesting interaction. Don't know if you guys saw that, but I think Andrew Gold is consulting his lawyers of the Heretics claim to fame. And I like the Heretics, man. I think it's a good show. And Dan going after Andrew was not a good look for Dan. But anyway, that being aside from the point, Tommy went on Dan's show and Dan showed Tommy all of the things that Piers Morgan said while Tommy was in prison and couldn't defend himself. And this is the first time Tommy is hearing what Piers said. Have a watch.
Tommy, over the past 6 months, for a lot of that period, you have been unable to respond to your critics. You were locked up. And so what I wanted to do today is give you the opportunity to see what some of your most strident critics, both on the right and the left, said about you during that time when you were in HMP Woodhill, when you could not hit back, so that you were able to respond specifically to some of these claims that were made over that period. And so I first want you to look at what Piers Morgan said about you.
He's not a nice guy. This is a pretty repellent human being. People in America do look at Tommy Robinson in a very different way to how we do here. The reason Nigel Farage has disowned him, and was nothing to do with him, is we see through him. Tommy Robinson is a convicted football hooligan. He's monetized his hatred of Islam. It has warped, in my view, all his so-called journalism, activism, whatever he wants to call it, because it's always skewed against Muslims. It's never fair and balanced in any way. Free Tommy Robinson, who is, to most people in my country, an extremely insidious individual who should absolutely not be free right now. There's a completely weird misunderstanding of who Tommy Robinson is and what he represents in America, because he's managed to position himself very cleverly as this kind of freedom fighter who's only in prison because he blew the whistle and all this stuff, so they've silenced him by putting him in prison. None of that is true.
I don't know if you were aware of all of that.
No, I wasn't. What did he say? I've monetised my opposition to Islam. You can buy my Quran at trbooks.co.uk.
So you're not denying that one, Tommy.
Mate, no, watching that, it's like when he says, I'm hated, come for a walk down the street with me, Piers, see who's hated. In fact, if I ever go on his show, I'm going to challenge him to that. I'll tell you what, Piers, me and you go for a walk. We'll go for a walk through a few major cities. We'll see what reception you get and what reception I get. We'll see who's hated and who's loved. So it's like to the establishment, to the people within the M25 in the champagne bars that Piers Morgan goes to, maybe that is the mood I'm feeling. But to the betrayed, forgotten, neglected British population, I'm one of them. Yeah? When they see the attack on me, they know it's an attack on them. When they see the censorship of me, they know it's to censor them. When they put me in prison, they know it's to send a message to them. So unfortunately, do you know what? Because Tim Pool really put him in his place after that and all, didn't he?
But it was interesting, though. I don't know if you were aware that it was actually a real campaign, and it was a campaign designed to change American opinion.
Well, no, that's what Nigel was doing. No, so I was worried. So 1st of January comes, ring home, and this was the moment that prison was worth it. I remember sat my kids down beforehand, saying, I'm going to release this film. I have to. And if it can get seen by 10 million people, kids, yeah, it changes Bailey's life because everyone's going to watch it. And my kids love Bailey. Bailey lived with us for 4 years, 4 years, yeah. He was with us for Christmas dinner. The kids, he become like a brother to my kids. So I said, it's going to change Bailey's life. It's going to give him a fresh start in his life. Not just that, it's going to be an opportunity for so many people to understand the corruption and the weaponisation and they're being lied to. So, and I had this goal of 10 million views. And then it was the first week in January, and I've rung home my son, and he's like, Dad! I'm like, what? He said, Elon Musk shared the film, and I'm like, and I swear to God, I'm like, yes! Yeah. I'm in the cell, and I'm jumping around the cell. I'm like, fucking yes! And I'm jumping up, because I knew at that moment, and then he said, he shared the Brit and Nicole story. I still speak to Nicole. Nicole was one of the bravest young girls I've ever met. Yeah, she was the first person to put her face on those documentaries to challenge those gangs in Telford. Yeah, against everything. She had a real backlash from it. She suffered a lot from it. So when I knew that her story had now reached the world on 45 million views or something, I was like, yes! And I'm going through all this with my son, and I swear, in that 7 days, I bet I felt freer. I was on solitary confinement. I bet I felt freer than Keir Starmer.
Yes, and it was a game-changing week because I was in New Zealand, right? So I'd just gone back to New Zealand to be with my family for Christmas and New Year. So just after I'd seen you, actually. And it was amazing. Yeah. Even seeing in New Zealand, it was a true international story, and that's what was so exciting.
An insidious individual who should absolutely not be free. Those sorts of words in the hands of a vulnerable nut job. What do you think they're going to do with that? See, we've got to be very, very careful with our words because our words can damage. Our words can cause a great deal of harm. And when you're spreading lies about someone who all he's done is try and help the British people, try and bring light to the grooming gangs and highlight why that is such an atrocious event in the history of the UK. When you've got that going on, honestly, what are you doing, Piers? Except lying about Tommy, challenging Tommy. You're a grifter, man. You're basically saying all this stuff for clicks. You're the Jerry Springer of this sort of nonsense. It's not a positive at all. You're grifting, you're lying, and people are sick of it. They're fed up. And yet here you were with the pager incident, and then now you want to say that Tommy Robinson is worse than you? Like, that to me is just, I'm mind blown. I really am at how you're going after someone like Tommy, who is a fan, like, of the truth, whereas you're not. And I love Tommy's reaction. Like, he challenges Piers Morgan to walk the streets of the UK with him and see who's loved more. I guarantee Tommy is loved a lot more. The people know who he is. And it seems like Elon Musk shared this today, I think it was. Piers Morgan suffers with Tommy phobia, as it would seem. Now, the antagonizing is probably going to continue for quite some time, I think, until Tommy ends up deciding to go on Piers Morgan. I don't know if he will do it, but I guess one can wait, right? And I'm like, he's going to go on trigonometry, which he did. It's going to air, I think, tomorrow, Sunday, which could be Monday for me. Who knows? So there'll be clips circulating about that, I'm sure, because they're going to be asking about the Piers Morgan stuff and lots of things that have been going on. Essentially, I think these two men need to get into a room, hash out the differences, hash out what's been going on. And I think Tommy needs to rip Piers a new one. I can't wait to see that. But anyway, that's enough from me. But you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.